Todd Grimshaw is returning to Weatherfield next week, but he is barely settled back in before becoming embroiled in another round of Coronation Street drama portrayed by Gareth Pierce. Todd comes back from Thailand and is soon drawn into Sarah Platt's increasingly troubled life in prison. Sarah sends Todd a visiting order, prompting him to make the trip to the prison. During their meeting, he comforts her by reminding her that Shay's a great friend and assuring her that he will always love her. Although the reunion is touching, Sarah soon turns the conversation towards the much more serious problems she is facing. She tells Todd about Kit Green and reveals that she chose to end their relationship because she wanted to safeguard his career. Sarah is aware that becoming involved in her troubles could place Kit in a compromising position, which is why she decided to walk away from him. However, the situation becomes even more complicated when Casey turns up in Sarah's cell in distress. Casey reveals that her son has been taken into custody over an armed robbery and pleads with Sarah to contact Kit, believing that he could potentially intervene and help her son. Sarah attempts to make it clear that she and Kit have split up and insists there is little she can do, but Casey refuses to accept her answer. With nowhere else to turn, Sarah phones Todd from prison and fills him in on the latest development. After returning to the cobbles, Todd seeks out Kit and tells him that Sarah wants to speak with him. Although Sarah hasn't explained exactly why she needs him, Todd makes it clear that she considers the matter extremely important. Kit eventually agrees to meet Sarah, although he is far from pleased when he discovers what she is asking of him. Sarah tells him that Casey needs his assistance, but Kit immediately points out that becoming involved could place his police career at risk. He also reminds Sarah that she was the person who ended their romance precisely because she did not want him putting his career in jeopardy for her. Sarah is therefore left facing an impossible choice: support Casey while potentially putting Kit in danger, or refuse to help and leave Casey to deal with the situation alone. Unfortunately, the situation is set to become even more alarming, with Casey's increasingly aggressive threats eventually turning violent. While Sarah struggles with the consequences of her prison troubles, Todd finds himself dealing with a string of problems of his own in Weatherfield. George Shuttleworth and Christina Boyd are looking forward to traveling to Somerset to visit George's cousins, but their planned getaway quickly runs into trouble. Todd accidentally reveals that Christina has once again been spending heavily, much to George's annoyance. George responds by telling Christina that she will no longer be accompanying him on the trip, leaving her absolutely furious. Todd also becomes involved in organizing Celeste's funeral, Frances Barber, after she arrives at the undertaker's alongside her driver, Fraser. Glenda Shuttleworth immediately becomes interested in Fraser and wastes little time asking him out for a drink. Her luck appears to be in when Fraser hands over his phone number and agrees to meet her for a date. However, Glenda is completely unaware of the truth behind Fraser. When Celeste is alone with Todd, she confides that the funeral being arranged is actually for herself. She reveals that she has just 6 weeks left to live. Todd and Celeste then begin making arrangements for her final farewell, with Celeste choosing a Dolly Parton-inspired funeral before leaving with Fraser. Glenda is delighted by the prospect of her upcoming date. But Todd soon discovers a secret that could completely change the situation. Glenda, Mary, and Christina have already been criticizing Todd over his excessive drinking ever since he came back from Thailand. Glenda warns him that unless he changes the way he treats those around him, he could eventually find himself with nobody left to call a friend. Todd clearly does not appreciate being lectured about his behavior. Later, Celeste returns to the undertakers and casually lets Todd know that Fraser is gay. Realizing that Glenda has no idea about Fraser's sexuality, Todd sees the revelation as the perfect chance to get revenge on her. Instead of allowing Glenda to continue believing that she could have a romantic relationship with Fraser, Todd decides to use the information to play a cruel prank on her. Given just how excited Glenda is about seeing Fraser, Todd's scheme could result in an extremely humiliating moment for her. Therefore, although Todd returns to Weatherfield, promising friendship and offering Sarah some heartfelt words of affection, he soon becomes tangled up in another collection of dramatic situations. At the same time, Sarah's prison ordeal continues to take a dangerous turn. And as Casey's behavior becomes increasingly threatening, Sarah may soon find herself facing an even more serious crisis. Ross Wilkes came dangerously close to being exposed in Thursday's Coronation Street after another clue emerged surrounding the mysterious disappearance of Cassie Playmumber. Cassie, played by Claire Sweeney, departed the Cobbles in dramatic circumstances several weeks ago. Although there have been hints that she could eventually return and may still be alive, Ross' increasingly suspicious actions have raised plenty of questions about what really happened to her. Fiz Dobbs, who is married to Ross and Cassie's son, Tyrone Dobbs, has already started to suspect that her father-in-law isn't telling the whole truth. She remains puzzled by his account of when he last saw Cassie and where exactly he drove her. The last time viewers saw Cassie, Ross offered to give her a lift before locking the car doors and driving away at speed after threatening her. He was also later found to be in possession of a family photograph that Fiz had given Cassie, making its whereabouts particularly suspicious. That photograph became important again during Thursday's episode when Cassie's granddaughter, Hope Stape, came across it. Fiz and Tyrone immediately questioned Ross about the picture and Cassie's whereabouts, but he was quick to produce an explanation. Fiz was visibly uneasy, particularly because she had only recently questioned Ross about what happened between him and Cassie during their car journey. Her doubts are clearly not going away anytime soon. However, she may not be the only person beginning to suspect that something doesn't add up. Another character present during the conversation appeared confused by the photograph, and it wasn't Tyrone. Ross claimed that Cassie had grown tired of the family and decided that she wanted nothing more to do with them. Fiz was clearly unconvinced while Tyrone became irritated by the situation and Hope simply continued with her day. Ross, meanwhile, appeared increasingly uncomfortable as he explained that he had left Cassie at the train station. According to Ross, Cassie had thrown the photograph at him because she had finally had enough of everyone. He then claimed he had been left unsure of how to respond to her behavior. Not long afterwards, Fiz attempted to contact Cassie herself, seemingly desperate to find out whether she was all right. Tyrone, however, wasn't particularly concerned, explaining that he hadn't spoken to Cassie since she left the previous week. Fiz revealed that she had repeatedly sent messages, but hadn't received a response, making it obvious that she was becoming increasingly worried. Tyrone referred back to Ross's explanation, but Fiz was quick to point out that this was simply Ross's account of what had happened. When Tyrone questioned why Ross would have any reason to lie, Fiz was interrupted before she could properly explain what had been troubling her. On the surface, the episode certainly appears to position Fiz as the person most likely to uncover the truth about Ross. If she continues investigating instead of letting the matter drop, she could eventually be the one who brings him down. But there is another possibility. Could the photograph have planted a seed of suspicion in Hope's mind? Hope has a reputation for getting herself involved whenever something doesn't seem right. And she could soon begin wondering why her grandmother has suddenly disappeared and apparently wants nothing to do with the family. It wouldn't be surprising if Hope picked up on Fiz's obvious concern and started asking questions of her own. After all, she previously helped track down Tyrone's long-lost father, proving that she is more than capable of investigating a family mystery. Could she now turn her attention towards finding Cassie? The photograph, combined with Ross's suspicious explanation, may eventually convince Hope that something isn't quite right. If she starts digging into Cassie's disappearance, Ross could soon find himself facing an unexpected problem. Because getting on the wrong side of Hope's state may be the last thing he needs. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.